nicknamed Susan Mama Bear. Because she's always trying to look after me. You know, if anybody says anything bad about me in the press or something, I gotta hide it from her because I fear that she's gonna come after them. So. Well, thank you all so much for being here at noon on I think is it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. It's all close together. From the bottom of my heart, I'm very grateful. So I am Dr. Manny, and I am an orthopedic trauma surgeon at Vanderbilt. So if any of y'all have any hip or shoulder or knee pain, I can see over here in the corner. We can turn this into a clinic. I'm telling you, everywhere I go across Tennessee, I turn things into a clinic because the best thing and the worst thing about me, you can ask my wife, is I try to be everybody's doctor because I love that. So it's an honor to be here, and there's some special people in the audience to me. But there's one, you know, Mike Edwards, his son worked with me as a medical student now, and I'm very proud of that. You know, I deeply love Tennessee, and I very deeply love this country. And I just want to share with you all for a few moments why I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and then we can talk about questions or whatever you have. You know, it all starts with my mom and dad, and they grew up in India in the 1940s. Now, have any of y'all seen that movie Slumdog Millionaire before? So the level of poverty that you see in that movie, it is real. It exists. And that's what happened to them. When they were children, their homes were burned to the ground by radicals. They had nothing, absolutely nothing. So they pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps to become doctors. My mother would go to villages in India without electricity, without running water, to take care of patients, to pay her way through medical school as a scholarship. My father would do all these odd jobs, and he would sleep in the back of his car at night and see patients during the day. So they both become doctors, but they're looking around at their brothers and their sisters and their children, their nieces and nephews, and they're realizing that India is not going to be the place for their unborn kids. There's no future. So they go to the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, India. They stand in line and wait their turn. And in the 1970s, they came to this country legally, with an L. I gotta say legally, because one time I said, they come to this country, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, they come here illegally? I said, no, sir. They came legally. So they landed in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I was born. They retrained as doctors again in the American system. And when I was 4 years old, we got on this semi-truck and we rolled to Coffee County. Now be honest here, y'all know Coffee County? Yeah? Hillsborough, Tennessee, that's where I was raised. You know, in Hillsborough, for those of you who don't know, it was a farming town. Folks didn't have a lot, but they had each other. And they invested in me and my brother, and you would have never known some of the hard times that people faced. I mean, when I was in kindergarten, I vividly recall kids could not even afford a 15-cent purity milk carton. But you'd never know it. Now, my parents, they were among the first two doctors in that town. Now, my dad, he was a primary care doctor, so he was like the heart doctor, the stomach doctor, psychiatrist, occasionally the marriage counselor. He did it all. My mom, she was OBGYN, so she delivered babies. And babies are the babies. And was the only OBGYN for many, many miles. Now, if anybody wants to dispute this, you can go to the Walmart in Manchester, Tennessee, because the greeter is named after my mama, because she delivered him. So, now, in our town where we were raised, there were really only 2 ambulances back in the day. And so we had this big old blue Oldsmobile. Remember the Oldsmobile 98? That was our car. That was our ambulance. And so we would go to pick up patients. And I remember vividly one night, I was 10 years old. I told your son this story when he was first trying to go to med school. I remember one night we went to Grundy County, to Altamont, to pick up a patient who was in heart failure because the ambulance couldn't come get him. So I'm sitting in the back seat. We're rushing this guy to the hospital. He's having chest pain and shortness of breath. My dad gets him to the hospital, runs him inside, and then he comes out, and I'm watching him talk to the family. Now that's something I've learned a little bit about as a trauma doctor, because I have to do that after surgeries and some stuff. And I very vividly remember this one moment where the family tried to give my dad some money, but he wouldn't take it. So he gets back in the car, and I climb in the front seat. We're riding home, and I asked my dad, I said, Dad, well, why didn't you take this guy's money? And what he said next is so important because it's defined my life and who I am. He said, you know, son, it does not matter what's in your bank account, but what matters is the difference that you make. I'll say that again. It doesn't matter what's in your bank account, but what matters is the difference that you make. And that's how I was raised in a small town, watching my parents doctor to farmers. And when I was in my early 20s, boom, I lost my dad to cancer. Now, have any of y'all lost your parents at a young age? So you know it does a number on you. And for me, it was like being in quicksand. I just could not find my way out of this. But that's when I came to Christ. That's when I found the Lord. And that's when I realized, like 3 generations of my family before me, I was going to become a doctor too. So for the last 10 years, I have been at Vanderbilt as a trauma surgeon, taking care of patients. Now, Vanderbilt is the 3rd busiest level 1 trauma center in the country. And what you realize when you're doing that work is that the line between life and death is razor thin. You just don't know what the good Lord's got planned for you. So tonight, when you go home, tell your loved ones how much you love them, how much you care, and try to make the biggest difference that you can make in your life. I feel like I've been doing that, taking care of patients. About 9 years ago, my wife Maya and I, we created this nonprofit called Healthy Tennessee. Now, Maya, we met when we were 16 in Boston at a summer camp. My first and only girlfriend, and I tricked her into being my wife. We got 2 kids. We got a 6-year-old boy who just finally learned how to ride a bike out on training wheels. I'm excited. And a 4-year-old girl who thinks she's 14. So we created this nonprofit, and we went across the state, all 95 counties, taking care of patients. That's how I got to meet Mike and so many other folks in this room. Trying to get people to focus on the front side of their health, prevention. And we went across rural Tennessee taking care of patients. Now the President Trump, heard about this, and he invited us to the White House. So I spent some time with him in the Oval Office, and he couldn't remember Manny, so he nicknamed me Tennessee. True story. Spoke at one of his rallies. It was great. And I really felt like I was making a difference through Healthy Tennessee. But now with this open U.S. Senate seat, I feel so deeply that it is a generational opportunity to make a difference. But a different kind of difference. You know, so many things in our country are right. We're doing some great stuff. But there are many, many things that we have to change, and we have to change them now. The first one is Obamacare, is health care. Does anybody in this room like the health plan that you've got? I'm meeting people all over East Tennessee. I was in Sevier County. I met somebody paying $24,000 for a family of 3 with a deductible of $10,000. I met a lady in Claiborne County. She is paying $2,000 a month. She's single. $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year with a deductible of $5,000. And this is happening all across our state. And I think Obamacare shows you the failure that happens when the federal government gets between a patient and their doctor, or when the federal government gets in the health insurance market. Nothing good comes from it. So we need a free market-based health insurance climate with 3 things. The first issue is transparency. Got to know what you're paying for. If I do, I'll fix your broken hip, which hopefully I never have to do. There should be a cost to that. I should know the cost, you should know the cost, but nobody does. The patient doesn't know, the provider doesn't know, the insurance company doesn't know. We need to have free market competition. That needs to be sorted out. The second thing is we need more insurance options in an individual insurance market. Right now, health insurance is too tied to employer-based health care. So that empowers like 10 health insurance companies, all right, to dictate what's going on. I think that an option should be that these large employers give the money back to you, the employee, let you go to an individual insurance market and buy your own product. We get rid of these 10 essential health benefits. We allow people to compete across state lines, and I'm telling you, we will flood the market with products. Premiums will go down, deductibles will go down. But here's the thing, and then I'm just speaking the truth to you, and I promise you that I always will. No career politician is going to tell you this, but unless we talk about prevention in our country, none of this is going to change. None of it. Right now, we pay doctors and healthcare providers in America to treat disease but not promote wellness. All right? We treat disease, we pay to when someone's in the hospital for diabetes, but we don't pay to keep them out of the hospital and to manage their diabetes. We don't reward providers. So you have a system that incentivizes for people getting sick. And that's not what we need. So we need to pay for prevention, pay for preventative health. If we do that, we can change things. The second big thing I think we need to talk about in this country, specifically in Tennessee, is this opioid crisis. Many of you all have family members or friends who have been struggling with this problem. I see it every day. Recently, I was on call. I took care of a lady who was 28 years old. Right? She was 28 years old, 30 weeks pregnant. She had gotten addicted to oxycodone, OxyContin, then started using heroin, developed a flesh-eating bacteria in her leg. So we saved her life, we saved the baby's life. But just think about this. In communities across our state, this is happening every single day. Every day. I was in Knoxville a couple of months ago, and a gentleman came up to me and started crying about this and said, if you are our next senator, please do something about this. And he told me about how his son had overdosed and died. He had had a shoulder injury playing football and had gotten addicted to drugs. This is happening over and over again, and we have to do something about it. Now here is the challenge. The federal government has a one-size-fits-all answer to this problem. One-size-fits-all, just giving the state money. Now, over the last 2 years, I have traveled the state, having small roundtable discussions with local mayors, local sheriffs, faith-based recovery folks, recovering addicts. These mayors and sheriffs know more in their pinky finger than some legislator at the state or federal level knows in their entire body. So why are we not empowering our local communities? Because the way this problem is in Knox County is different than the way it is in Shelby County. So we need locally based solutions that empower local leaders. If I'm your next senator, I promise you that's what I'll do. And finally is immigration. Look, I'm the child of 2 immigrants. I've lived the American dream. I was born here. You know, my mom, she loves Fox News, all right? She watches Fox News like all day long. And she starts hearing about illegal immigration, and she gets really fired up. And she's like, look, I stood in line, I waited my turn, and so did your father. That is the American way. It is not racist to talk about illegal immigration. We have to have that discussion in this country. Immigration is personal to me. I believe that I can do it. I can lead this fight. But here's a couple things. We got to move away from a chain-based migration system, which is bringing folks over here who are low-skilled immigrants, and they're just never going to survive and thrive and live the American dream. We need to move to a merit-based system where we bring people over here who make a difference in America, like my parents did, and at the same time will survive to live the American dream for their kids. But you know, I love the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew 9, which I deeply love, teaches us the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And I think somehow my father, he knew that he wasn't going to be around. And he wanted to teach me from a young age. Doesn't matter what's in your bank account. What matters is the difference that you make. That's why I'm doing this, to make a bigger difference. You know, folks, you are faced with a consequential decision in August about who you want as your next senator. And you'll have a very clear choice between a Washington insider and someone who comes from outside of government. And you know, 40 years ago, folks just like you, in a room, 3 or 4 hours down the road, you opened your hearts and your house to these 2 immigrants from India. Look what happened next. I became a trauma surgeon. My brother became a spine surgeon. I am running for the U.S. Senate. That is the American story. 40 years later, kid of those 2 immigrants, this kid from rural Tennessee who's never run for anything, not even student council, I'm asking you to help me, to believe in me, to vote for me and support me. Send me to Washington and let's fight together. Let's solve some of these challenges of our time, of healthcare, of immigration, this opioid epidemic. Together, I know we can do it. Thank you so very much for being here today. I really appreciate it.